We're all critics, man. None of us look good. So
no, that's sort of the nature of the beast.
We look great.
Well, go on.
Believe we're
Are we going?
We are on. We've been on for 22 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get started. Although this is a pretty good intro all by itself. Okay, everyone, hello and welcome to Go Derby Inside Track. I'm News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm joined today by my senior editor colleagues, Marcus James Dixon, Daniel Montgomery, and Rob Licuria, live and direct from Sydney. Our expert panel also includes Go Derby contributing editor Charlie Bright, NPR's esteemed television critic Eric Deggans, and last but far from least, Deadline Hollywood's awards columnist and chief film critic Pete Hammond. Welcome all.
All right.
So yesterday, phase one of Emmy voting for nominations closed, and now we wait for the noms to be announced on July 12th. But if you think we're going to twiddle our thumbs for 2 weeks while this is all being decided, you're nuts. We cannot be kept idle for 15 days. To that end, we're going to slug it out over who we think has the best shot at being nominated. We'll head down our Go Derby list of predictions and toss out our own thoughts, starting with top comedy series. Okay, we've got Ted Lasso gunning for its third in a row, Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Only Murders in the Building, Barry, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Poker Face, Wednesday, and Shrinking heading the list. And then there's my Andrea Riseborough Hail Mary pick to make the cut, the viral sensation Jury Duty.
Mine too.
And Eric Deggans, you're predicting The Bear to win and have Shrinking in third place. So let's start with you. What's your thinking here?
What's my thinking here? Well, I'm not doing a lot of thinking. First, I'm going to say, number one, I always get this stuff wrong. So I'm making no pretensions.
That's the spirit.
To completely knowing what's going on. And if we're going to have a slugfest, I need some training time with Elon and Mark Zuckerberg before I can take any of you guys on. Sure. But I named The Bear because in this instance, I picked the show that I actually thought was best. Now I know we're talking about the first season of The Bear, not the one that just aired. But
although I'm sure that people are going to confuse them, of course, even voters will confuse them.
Yeah, and even if they don't, what sometimes I think happens is that people get reminded of a show when the new season is airing. They go, oh yeah, I really like that thing. So some of the goodwill from a new season can transfer to an older one. And I only put The Bear there because I figure Abbott Elementary kind of ruled the Emmys the last time around, and I wonder if there'll be a little hesitancy to get on that bandwagon again. Although Abbott is another strong contender, and Shrinking also I thought was a wonderful show. My only fear about shows like Shrinking and Poker Face and even Jury Duty that you mentioned is, did enough people see them? And I think that's going to be the question that will hang over a lot of the discussions that we have, is that there are a lot of great shows that could be Emmy contenders, but it's hard to know if the voting body actually got a chance to see them, because some of these streamers, you don't know how visible their titles are.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, you're picking Abbott Elementary, as am I, and as is Charlie. Why not Ted Lasso? And are you one of those soccer haters?
No, I Ted Lasso's won the last 2 years in a row. It certainly could do it again. But it feels like the enthusiasm for the third season was a lot softer than it was for the first two seasons. And I feel like while it's been sort of receding a little bit in like public acclaim, Abbott Elementary has only been going up and up from season 1 to season 2. So I think it's going to be one of those shows that really greatly improves its nomination total in season 2. And I think it's probably going to win Best Comedy Series.
Pete, what do you think?
Well, I actually vote in the Emmys, and actually the Hammond household here now has 2 Emmy votes because my wife just got in the TV Academy too.
Congratulations.
In the producers branch, but I'm in the writers branch. I have been a former governor, and I've watched this a million times, and I do agree with whoever said there's the question of, do they actually see these shows? And there's so much content out there. It's overwhelming to go through that ballot. Took me half an hour to do 21 categories, 6 in writing and 15 in programs. And, I have to say, I always vote for underdogs. So I don't vote for Ted Lasso or things I know, Abbott Elementary, that are going to get nominated, because I know they are. So my top pick is Jury Duty, which I think is the true meaning of a comedy series. It's actually funny. I
could not agree with you more.
The Bear belongs in drama, and it would be great there. Actually, I think Jury Duty belongs in limited series, because I've talked to the producers and they have no idea how they do a second season of that. But for its first season, I think it's spectacular. I also threw a vote to reboot a show that got canceled by Hulu that never should have. I thought was genuinely funny. And Schmigadoon, which I don't know what category that fits into, but they've got it here. So that's there. So, I'm really rooting for something other than these top 8 shows that seem to be what everybody's picking. And, we'll see how it goes. But the Emmys do tend to repeat themselves. There's no question about that. But every now and then, there might be a little surprise. And in the writing category, too, I think the smart move is for a show to submit one episode. And some of them, the Connors, believe it or not, had 5. They apparently have 5 scripts that were Emmy worthy. But that's a no-brainer. That's not going to get nominated for anything. But, the Ted Lassos of the world and those will turn up again here. Hacks isn't in it this year, though, so there's room.
That's right.
And
then anyone can jump in here, but we have such a big panel. I'm going to try to. Not everyone is going to be able to comment on each category. So let's go over to lead comedy actress. Last year's winner, as you just said, Pete, Jean Smart, isn't around this time because Hacks isn't eligible. We got last year's comedy writing winner, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, now up for actress. Previous winner, Rachel Brosnahan for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Jenna Ortega for Wednesday, Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, Elle Fanning for The Great, Selena Gomez for Only Murders in the Building. Alas, there are a scant 5 slots this time. I'm going with the sentimental choice of Christina Applegate to win. What does everyone else think? Rob?
I think that we really need to take a lot of notice on Natasha Lyonne. And I feel like Poker Face is going to overperform, by the way. And also, by the way, in comedy series, never sleep on What We Do in the Shadows, because it gets nominated all the time and people always underestimate it. So I'm definitely expecting that to also make it in. Quinta Brunson is probably out front. The Emmys love repeats. They love reruns. She will definitely be in the category, and I think that she will likely win. But if I was putting money down, I would be saying Natasha Lyonne really, really impressed me and so many other people that I speak to day to day in my interviewing gig. Everyone seems to be really into what she brought to the table as a lead actress and also as a producer and writer and director on the show.
She's so great in everything she does. Marcus, what do you think?
Yeah, comedy actress is a category that's not causing me a lot of stress. I think Quinta is number 1, and I don't even know who number 2 would be. I mean, I do have Natasha in second place.
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna is possible. Rachel's possible. But are they watching Poker Face? Like, that's still kind of an untested thing. Are they watching Wednesday? I guess we'll see when the nominations come out. But Quinta, I mean, she had one of the biggest years ever last year, and she's even going to get in for SNL too as a guest star.
What do you think, Charlie?
I'm also on the Quinta Brunson train, although I think Natasha Lyonne has a very, very, very good shot here. I think those are probably the 2 most. The thing with Poker Face is that we don't really know how Peacock will do, because sometimes we find that the Emmy voters are sometimes watching certain channels and they're not watching other ones. So I think that's going to be the thing that we're going to have to wait and see on that. But I think Quinta Brunson feels it feels like Abbott could have a year similar to what 30 Rock had in its second season, where it just steamrolled. And part of that was Tina Fey winning for writing acting and producing, and I have it feels very possible that could happen again here for Abbott.
So I wanted to ask you guys, when I fill out these Gold Derby predictions, I'm always torn between picking what I want to win and trying to figure out what the TV Academy is going to do. And I feel like even in this conversation that we're having, we're all kind of torn between what we think people might actually pick and who we want to win.
I absolutely understand what you're saying, Eric, because I almost have an aversion, and it's not just with the Emmys, it's with almost any award show, where if there's something that I actually feel very passionately like, yeah, I want that to win, I feel very hesitant to predict it because I feel like I'm jinxing it almost. So, I mean,
that's what I've been doing wrong.
That's why I didn't predict Michelle Yeoh at the Oscars, and I almost refused to do it. So I mean, like I absolutely get what you're saying here, and I think it's a very tough thing to sometimes try to compartmentalize.
That's my.
I will add to that we have the Gold Derby Awards right now in our prediction center. You could vote for your favorites there, and then in the Emmy prediction center, you can predict who you think will win. So you could do both in the two separate events.
I think as long as people choose what I am predicting, they will be fine. And no,
you picked Christina Applegate though, which is
crazy.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, man.
I'm telling you, I think an upset is in the making. But whenever I say that, I'm wrong. Let's move on to lead comedy actor. We have Jason Sudeikis going for the three-peat for Ted Lasso, but right now he's trailing Jeremy Allen White and His Soulful Eyes for The Bear. Who's in first place in our combined odds, followed by Sudeikis, Bill Hader for Barry, Steve Martin and Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, Jason Segel, who I really think is terrific for Shrinking, and Donald Glover for Atlanta. But again, only 5 nomination slots here, so it's going to be quite a slug out here. Rob, what do you think?
I think it's really look. I think we can boil down the comedy races to this. I think Ted Lasso is still out front because the Emmys love that show. We know the reception that the show has been getting at Emmy screenings and so forth. It's definitely the show to beat, okay? Abbott Elementary is going to do very well, but in this category, this is where they're going to award The Bear. This is where The Bear will do well, and probably will do well in either directing or writing. Jeremy Allen White won the SAG. He won the Critics' Choice. He is going to win this Emmy. Lock that in. And then Jason Sudeikis, he'll be quite happy to have his own Emmys and not worry about winning again. And we can't sleep on Ted Lasso. Yes, Daniel's right. Reception for the third season was pretty soft, but we don't. That's in our little bubble. The Emmy voters still love the show, so I just think. And Shrinking, great show. Only Murders in the Building, people love it. Barry, fantastic. This is all about The Bear, Ted Lasso, and Abbott Elementary, and that's it. We might as well just give up and turn off this whole chat.
Do you agree with that, Daniel? Should we just give up?
I'm not sure I'd say give up. I would say I agree that Jeremy Allen White, this is sort of his to lose. I think in comedy series, we see with these more dramatic comedies that they don't tend to win there. But the TV Academy has no issue with a more dramatic performance in the acting categories. We saw that with Jeffrey Tambor winning twice. We saw that with Bill Hader for Barry winning twice. That's a more dramatic comedy. So I think, this has just kind of been going Jeremy Allen White all season. If it wins nothing else, I think it wins here. But again, Jason Sudeikis won last year. A lot of us thought that, he was going to lose that one to Bill Hader, who was coming back for Barry last year. So I think it's one of those two, but yeah, I'm going with Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm going with Jeremy too. What do you think, Pete?
I when in doubt, I don't know that this category is that different from last year. I do think The Bear has an advantage because it's gotten a lot of attention all season with awards, and now it's running again. And I think that is such an advantage to have a new season break as Emmy voting is going on. And a
lot of chatter about that season already.
Yeah. So, you have, it's very much top of mind right now. So I would say Jeremy Allen White is the winner there, unless it's Jason again. I think Steve Martin and Martin Short just cancel each other out, and Bill Hader's been there, done that. So I don't think so. Yeah.
That brings us to supporting comedy actress, where Cheryl Lee Ralph and Hannah Waddingham will likely be locking horns to see who can win their second in the category. Ralph for Abbott Elementary and Waddingham for Ted Lasso. There's also Janelle James for Abbott, who is actually my pick. Io Edeberry for The Bear. Alex Borstein for Mrs. Maisel, a winner in the category already in 2018 and 2019. Juno Temple for Ted Lasso. Sarah Goldberg for Barry. I really think Janelle James is terrific as the crazy principal on Abbott. And Daniel, I know you're picking Io. How come?
This is just one of those hunches. She's had a really big breakthrough year. She could get another nomination in the guest category for Abbott Elementary. So, we know that voters are going to be watching both of the shows she features in. And it just seems like this category is no easier than it was last year, where we thought it was a three-way race, I think, between Janelle James, Hannah Einbinder, and Hannah Waddingham. And then it went to the fourth choice, Cheryl Lee Ralph. And this year, it's no easier, I don't think. So I'm working a hunch with Io. But I'm not entirely confident. I want to see the nomination counts. I want to see who else is nominated in this category. She will have the advantage of having no internal competition, because there won't be another supporting actress nomination for The Bear, whereas Abbott could have 3. Ted Lasso could have at least 2. So yeah, I'm going Io, but I'm not entirely confident.
What do you think here, Eric?
Well, I was going to say, the consolation will maybe that if she isn't nominated or wins this year, I think she's a shoo-in for next year for the year's season, because she's just amazing in it. It might not be her time this time if people are judging the first season. But what's also troubling me a little bit, and I'm sort of stepping outside of what we're normally talking about, is it seems like there's just a small number of shows that are contributing diversity to these categories. And once Abbott Elementary gets to the point where it's not getting nominations anymore, we're going to see the diversity in all these acting categories kind of bottom out. And it's kind of that's one thing that's kind of distressed me a little bit. Sort of looking at this field is just trying to see where are the great shows featuring performers of color and who might possibly get nominated. And it feels like that field is shrinking every year.
Literally shrinking.
Yeah, not to turn a phrase, because at least that has Jessica Williams, who's
awesome. Great in that. And if they've seen that show, I think she'll get in, actually, if they've seen it.
She's magnificent.
Again, like with these Apple shows, it's tough to know how many people actually see them and pay attention to them. But if people actually watch the show, then yeah, she should get nominated.
Well, in the Academy, you have a digital platform. You have constant reminders on all of this. You can't escape most of these shows, even if you don't have Apple or you don't have Hulu or you don't have any of those. You have them during Emmy season. I guarantee you that.
Okay, and let's move to comedy supporting actor. We have Brett Goldstein gunning for his three-peat for Ted Lasso after winning the last 2 years. Standing in his way figure to be Tyler James Williams, who's in first place in Gold Derby's handicap for Abbott Elementary. We got previous winner Henry Winkler for Barry. This new kid, Harrison Ford, for Shrinking. Emmy magnate Tony Shalhoub, a 4-time winner for Monk and a 4-time nominee for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Evan Moss-Backrack for The Bear, and Nick Mohammed for Ted Lasso. Marcus, you're going with Anthony Carrigan.
Yeah, I changed this recently. I guess when I was watching Barry, I changed it to him. And someone said earlier, I'm predicting someone because they just gave the best performance. And for me, Anthony Carrigan gave the best. And something else that stuck with me. Remember, he got in at the SAG Awards. There's only 5 nominees, and they combine leads and supportings, and he got in of all these other people in Hollywood. that's huge. That's huge that he got in there. And it reminds me of Julia Garner doing that for Ozark. Even though she lost the SAG, she then got in at the Emmys and she won there. So I'm thinking Anthony might pull a Julia Garner. But, you know, in second place, I have Brett Goldstein. We know they love repeats, and he's won twice, like you said. And I mean, Tyler James Williams, he won the Golden Globe, right? And did he win the Critics' Choice as well? My mind is going.
No, hold on, the Critics' Choice.
But he was nominated last year,
right?
For an Emmy, was a favorite.
If I'm wrong that it's Anthony, I don't know who it will be. I don't know if it's Brett. I don't know if it's Tyler, but I think it's one of those three.
What do you think, Charlie?
Well, this is one where I'm glad I can keep because I had a bunch of shrinking getting a lot more nominations until we found out the amount of slots in each category, and I had to take out Jason Segel and Jessica Williams. But I have Harrison Ford actually winning this one. If the Oscar will be getting the nomination, but if he can get in, I mean, that's one where if Apple can really push the narrative. Thing about this, he's in Indiana Jones right now. He's and he's someone who's never won a competitive major hardware in a competitive awards category. I think the only thing he's really ever won was the DeMille Award at the Globes and getting an Oscar nomination for Witness back in the 80s. And he's really funny on the show. That's the thing. He is insanely funny on that show. And it's been so great to see him get to stretch those comedic muscles, and he delivers, and he's fantastic on the show.
His whole grumpy thing really works well for him on that show.
Oh, it's perfect for him on this. I do have Tyler James Williams in second place. I feel like he's really come out strong. The fact that he got in last year was a surprise, at least to me, and I think he's really defined the character more. And in a surprise bit, I do have Chris Perfetti getting in as well. So that'll be interesting to see if he'll be competing against co-stars for that.
I don't even know that he's on the Gold Derby list. I have to go in and do my things on Gold Derby, but James Marsden, to me, just hands down, is the funniest
for jury duty.
For jury duty, and the riskiest performance I've seen. If I'm an actor looking at these, and if I saw that show, I'd go like, wow, could I have done that? I don't know. You never know where it was going to wind up. And I thought
the guy had to stay in character for 2 weeks.
Yeah, unbelievable. Amazing work on that show. That's who I would be a long shot, sure, because we don't know if voters saw it. We know people have seen it, but we'll see.
We then come to comedy guest actress, where the Gold Derby combined odds have Taraji P. Henson leading the pack for Abbott Elementary and Quinta Brunson for her hosting gig on SNL. Then there's Shirley MacLaine for Only Murders in the Building, Judith Light and Sherry Jones both for Poker Face, Harriet Walter for Ted Lasso, and Io Edebiri for Abbott Elementary. Rob, everyone's picking Taraji but you. Well, actually, maybe not Pete, but you like Judith Light. What's up with that?
Yeah, I do. Look, maybe that's a little bit of a hope dicting, but I feel that, first of all, she hasn't even won an Emmy yet. That's ridiculous. That's just crazy. That needs to change. 3-time Tony winner Judith Light, Angela on Who's the Boss, and so good in Poker Face in that fifth episode, Time of the Monkey, alongside Ethan Murkison, who has won an Emmy for Lackawanna Blues. I think Judith Light is in front. The thing that will hurt her, if we see multiple nominees from Poker Face in this category, which I'm predicting will happen, if this Peacock show really hits with Emmy voters, and it may, then I still feel like she's out front. Although I could make the same argument for Cherry Jones. She's already won 15,000 Emmys, Hong Chow, and so on and so forth. But I feel like Judith Light has a real shot here to win her first Emmy, finally.
And I'm on the Judith Light train as well.
Oh, you are, Charlie?
Yes.
I think I missed that when I was going over your stuff. Good. Marcus, what do you think here?
I think it's Taraji's time. I don't know how many times she's been nominated, but I imagine it's probably 2 or 3. But I mean, for Empire, she won the Globe, and we all thought maybe it's possible she could win the Emmy, and she didn't. But this role, it was so good. When she got announced just as a cast member, everyone freaked out. And then when we saw the role, she plays Quinta's mother. It was so good. And I have her at number 1. I have Quinta down at number 3. So I kind of would love this battle of the mother and daughter facing off, although for different shows, but facing off in this category. That's going to be really fun to watch.
In comedy guest actor, then we have Nathan Lane for Only Murders in the Building, last year's winner. On top in our predictions, he's followed by Steve Martin and Martin Short for their co-hosting gig on SNL. Luke Kirby for Mrs. Maisel, Pedro Pascal for SNL, Leslie Odom Jr. for Abbott Elementary, Adrian Brody for Poker Face. He was really good in his episode. And Dave Chappelle for his SNL hosting gig. I'm going with Nathan Lane myself. How about you, Eric?
I have Pedro Pascal there, but this is a category I'm not all that confident in. It's tough for me to gauge. I mean, how do you gauge somebody hosting Saturday Night Live versus somebody like Nathan Lane, who's a guest actor, but he's in multiple episodes, versus somebody who was in a single Poker Face episode? I mean, it seems like it's really hard to even compare the impacts of all these performances because they're so different. But I thought Pedro Pascal did an amazing job with SNL, and it came right at the height of his popularity for The Last of Us. If anybody's gonna be recognized for SNL, it'll probably be him or Quinta, I would think. But a lot of these performances were great. I mean, Sam Richardson was great on Ted Lasso. An easily overlooked, bit of mastery. And I feel like Steve Martin and Martin Short, they often cancel each other out. So maybe this is one category where, since they're presented together, they might actually, get a lot of votes because they wouldn't be competing against each other. So it's, this was one that was tough for me to judge.
Daniel, what's your thought here?
I'm going with Steve Martin and Martin Short. I feel like they're going to get votes here from the people who really love their hosting on SNL, and they're going to get a lot of Only Murders in the Building votes from people who deduce accurately, I think, that they're going to cancel each other out for Best Comedy Actor. So here's a place where you can actually reward them as a team. I think that's going to be hard to resist. So I've got them, and then I've got Luke Kirby for Maisel in second place. I never underestimate him. And then Nathan Lane in third, Leslie Odom Jr. in fourth. Those I'm confident we'll get in. After that, I'm not sure where this category is going to go.
I do agree that Martin Short and Steve Martin kind of cancel each other out because people confuse them because they're both named Martin. I think they've kind of fused into the same person. But all right, gentlemen, now let's move on to drama series where we have Succession, and let's see, Succession, and then Succession. And then The White Lotus.
Shortest discussion ever.
No, of course, Succession is the heaviest of heavy favorites in first place. White Lotus, even though it was in a whole different category last year, a very distant second. Then, just to name some others, we have The Last of Us, Better Call Saul, The Crown, Yellow Jackets, House of the Dragon, Andor, Yellowstone, and Bad Sisters. Anyone here not picking Succession?
I'm curious, what would everyone pick if you were a voter? I know Pete is. I don't know if he wants to tell us what he voted for, but I would.
Well, again, I didn't vote for Succession at all because it's a wasted vote to me. It's going to get nominated. So when you're doing this, you're trying to help other shows. That's my thing.
Is that how what everyone thinks? Do you think for the voting?
I think they vote. A lot of people will vote. You can vote in this category for up to 8, which is the number that supposedly gets nominated. They changed it this year, so you just can't vote for everything. They've got limits on each category. But I just would like to see some other things because I know Succession's going to get in there, so it doesn't need my vote. But I did vote for White Lotus because I love White Lotus, and I don't care what category they put that in. I think that show's brilliant, and so I put that one in. Better Call Saul, I really want that to win something, and I love Better Call Saul, so I put that way up. And a lot of these other ones, Andor, I quite liked, and I put that one in there. So The drama series not as exciting as for me as like limited series and things that I've actually seen a lot of. I haven't seen a whole lot of these drama series that are on here. I haven't seen Queen Charlotte or Lord of the Rings or any of those.
Wow.
I have seen Your Honor, which I like, but I don't think that'll get nominated.
Rob, haven't I seen you write that you thought that Succession was like one of the greatest drama series in history?
Yes, you have, and you are correct. I'm the opposite of Pete, so I pretty much have seen almost everything in the drama category. It's my passion, I suppose. In fact, I think I've seen pretty much everything. That says a lot about my life. I really need to get more.
Well, you should be voting then, because I think most of the Emmy voters haven't seen everything.
Yeah, exactly. I think most of the Gold Derby panel, I think most of us have seen a lot of stuff. Maybe we should just be in charge of the Emmys. That's
I
what
I think you should.
Well, let's make a call. Let's get together after. We'll make a special call. But look, honestly, Succession, like, doesn't matter what I think. I just know that from everyone that I've spoken to, and again, when some of us who do these interviews, we always talk offline, and we always talk about, what are you into? What are you voting for? Everybody is so impressed. And this social media buzz over Succession is just a no-brainer. It's going to get so many nominations. But I actually think that The Last of Us is going to do very well below the line. The White Lotus is very popular. That's going to do great. And then other shows like The Crown, remember that swept the field 2 years ago. Of course, yes, this season was probably not as well received as season 4, but I think it's still going to do great. And I'm really hoping more than anything else, I really want Andor to do well. I thought that was a stunning piece of work. Until Succession finished airing, I thought Andor was the best thing of the season. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think the drama categories are really exciting. I just think we're going to see so much Succession in the acting and writing and directing categories that it will just sweep everything in its way.
Actually, writing, it only submitted one.
It always does that. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is like I'm a sci-fi nerd too, so I really would love to see Andor do well, but I'm just so worried for the fact that it is a sci-fi show, and also for the fact that it aired so long ago, and I wonder whether viewers will remember it. But I wanted to ask you guys about a show like Better Call Saul, which is often nominated and rarely in the winners circle.
It's never won.
Yeah. What do you make of a show like that, where they keep getting in the nominations, but they can never quite get it over the hump and actually win anything?
It's a tough thing. It's tough. Look, this is the second half of the 6th season. So this year is really tougher than any, except that it's its final thing. But really, it hasn't aired for a year, in terms of first run. So it's going to be the love inherent for Better Call Saul that gets it in. And it, once again, will not win, because just luck of the draw when this series is on. Its predecessor, Breaking Bad, had a different fate in store. But I would love to see Seahorn finally win, maybe just for the whole show. Our Bob Odenkirk, my God,
It took too long to think Reed was nominated, man, at this point. I mean,
I think Bob does have a chance because there is the 3-way vote split in Best Actor, where you're going to have 3 from Succession. And so last year we saw the Succession guys vote split when there was just 2, and Squid Game won Best Actor. So it's very possible. I don't know if it's going to happen for Bob, but I mean, you're going to see millions and millions of Better Call Saul fans jumping up off of their couches and applauding the Emmy voters if actually Bob Odenkirk.
We will be crying like Rhea Seahorn on that damn bus.
but the problem with that, and we're going to probably talk about it in a minute, is that the field in acting is so strong. That's going to be a challenge, I think. I mean, Kieran Culkin, man, just killed it. Well, everybody on the Succession killed it. Plus, you got Pedro Pascal. Plus, you got Harrison Ford. The 1923 is the lesser of his possible performances. Shrinking was much stronger, but he was good in that show. and even Jeff Bridges and The Old Man. There's a lot of heavy hitters who might get nominated in this category.
We're getting some questions too from people watching live here. One was, what are the chances everything nominated will be from Succession and White Lotus again? Don't think the ratings will be good for the Emmys. I'm not sure that that's the reason they're not good. But
well, the Emmys even have it.
well, yeah, that's another thing.
That's
the writer's strike goes into August. We're looking at this happening in November or January. But that's another story. Let's talk about some of those acting categories you were just referring to, Eric. Lead drama actress, we have Sarah Snook from Succession and Melanie Linsky for Yellow Jackets leading the way, tied in the odds combined, followed by Bella Ramsey for Last of Us, and Imelda Staunton for The Crown, Emma Darcy for House of the Dragon, Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale, Kerry Russell, who I think is unbelievable, for The Diplomat, and Helen Mirren for 1923. There's only 6 slots here. As I just said, I think Kerry Russell is going to do a lot better than people think, and even has an outside shot at the win. But I imagine we're all probably snooksters here, right, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm predicting Sarah Snook. It's hard to think of an alternative necessarily, just because of how much enthusiasm there is for Succession this year. I feel like we're looking at a mini sweep. Maybe not everything, because Succession, despite how much goodwill it's always had, it's never been that kind of show that had the Crown kind of win every category it's up for kind of sweep. But this year, I think it could come close to something like that.
Okay, Gold Derbyites, let me ask you, this is where you're experts. Has there ever been someone who has lost 2 years in a row in the supporting category for a show and then gone into lead and won lead? Has that ever happened in any kind of form in Emmy history?
I mean, Alison Janney's close, but she did win.
She won,
didn't
she?
She won twice before going to lead.
And then she won in lead, remember, for that Women of Kumar episode. I remember it because she beat Jennifer Garner in Alias, and I'm still getting over that. I'm still so upset.
I'm also getting over it, but it's because she beat Frances Conroy for 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
Man, you guys know this stuff so much better than I do.
I think Sarah
blowing my mind.
She may make history then.
She may make history. And I just want to also put it out there that in our odds, we have an Australian and a New Zealander up front. I'd love to see it. Can we make that happen in all the categories, please? That'd be great.
Wow. Marcus, what do you think here? Are you down with Sarah winning for actress?
I'm a snookster, and I'm not like Rob, where I think Succession is one of the best shows of all time, which that's a fair opinion to have. I kind of just watch it and I enjoy it, but even someone like me would vote for Sarah Snook. I think she's just absolutely fantastic. I love that she jumped up from supporting to lead, because now I'm sure HBO loves it even more than I do, because now HBO is going to win both. Jennifer Coolidge, who we'll talk about in a second, and then Sarah Snook. And she's just so good on that show. And she kind of also has the Rhea Seehorn thing going, where it's like, when is she going to prevail? When? Like, in that now is when she's going to prevail. She's going to win, I think.
Can I just mention one actress who I think gets overlooked a bit in these conversations? And this is another prime example of, do voters actually watch the show? But I feel like Elizabeth Moss has been kicking ass on The Handmaid's Tale every season. And I'm just kind of amazed at how little recognition she gets.
Well, I mean, I think the show had one of its best seasons ever, and I'm tentatively predicting it, including Elizabeth in several categories. But it's one of those shows that we have seen the Emmys kind of say, have it at least with their nominations. They've the last several years with Handmaids, it's kind of been like, oh, we've been there, done that. We've gotten some of the actors in, but it's just sort of like, yeah, we've been there and done that.
Yeah, and by the way, Elizabeth Moss is one of those who lost consistently in supporting actress and moved up to lead, but it was for a different show, Handmaids, and won instantly in lead.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Mad Men?
Yeah.
I agree. I think Elizabeth Moss is so amazing. I also think Sharon Horgan is underestimated for Bad Sisters. And I think Kerry Russell, I'm just
Yeah.
catching up with The Diplomat. It's one of the last shows on my list. I'm finally getting to it. I'm amazed. That show is great. I mean, I don't think it's the best thing ever, but I think it's got a lot of potential. And Kerry Russell is fantastic.
Kerry Russell is just a powerhouse. I'm telling you, that's an underappreciated, underrated show that really could
And she never
do
won
very well.
So
Okay,
maybe...
answer me this. Why is Christine Baranski completely ignored for The Good Fight? I mean, why did she not connect? She's brilliant.
It pisses me off.
I think it's that thing that we've been saying over and over again. I don't think people are watching the show. The voters. I don't think the Emmy voters are watching the show. If they were, I would have singled out Andre Braugher too, because I thought he did an amazing job in the last season.
Yeah,
I don't think any people who vote for the Emmys have watched it except you, Pete.
I think that's the curse of Paramount Plus. I think it's one of those outlets that Emmy voters just haven't caught on to yet. Paramount Plus. So anything on it, like if The Good Fight were on an HBO show, Christine Baranski would be a perennial nominee. We'd be sick of her by now. But the fact that it's on Paramount Plus, like it's if it's not on the Emmy voters' radar, like I remember this for years with the WB and UPN ignoring shows like Buffy. If those kinds of shows had been on another network that voters were actually watching more often, then they probably would have done better.
That's right. They don't have Stars, they don't have the CW, and they obviously don't have Paramount Plus. And that's the problem for 1923, which is a great show and has some excellent contenders vying for Emmys like Helen freaking Mirren.
Yeah.
And yet she's going to
Helen's going to do very well.
I hope so. But I just think 1923, there's going to be a blind spot once again for Paramount Plus. But hopefully that won't be the case for Star Trek Picard, because that should be winning every award under the sun. But that's a whole other story.
I was gonna say, where's our sci-fi narrative standing up for Picard, man? That was amazing. If you could give an Emmy for most improved series from second to third season, they would win it hands down.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move over to lead drama actor. Last year's winner, Lee Jung-jae for Squid Game, isn't eligible. So there's a lot of succession, including Jeremy Strong, Kieran Culkin, and Brian Cox, as we've already alluded to. How do you pick among those guys? We've also got Bob Odenkirk for the final year of Better Call Saul, probably his best shot so far. Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us, Jeff Bridges for The Old Man, Patty Considine for House of the Dragon, Diego Luna for Ender, and Harrison Ford for 1923. I'm a Jeremy Strong guy myself. But Marcus, Rob, and Eric, I see you're all on Team Kieran. Let's start with you, Rob. Kieran?
Yeah, after the funeral episode, I was pretty sold on Kieran winning. It'd be such a nice story. He's a child actor. We all know him from his work back when he was a kid. He's so good on this show, and he really showed so much range. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremy Strong won it again. I feel like the only one that won't probably win is Brian Cox. In fact, I'm not even having him nominated, only because I needed to find some space for Diego Luna, and that's just my craziness, and I'll probably just suffer when the nominations come out. I think Kieran Culkin has this, but don't sleep on Bob Odenkirk, because I feel like that's one where he's just always been so close and yet never taken home the statue. And I feel like if he won, that would be an amazing moment, given that the Succession guys will, wait for it, split the vote.
I actually will say that I think Brian Cox could pull this out. Not for this season, but for the whole show. And he died. And that really helps. And
voters like death.
They really like death. He died. That means an end to that. And that means they're conscious, this is our last shot at this guy who was so good in the show. And a lot of times when they're voting, they're not thinking, oh my God, he wasn't in all 8 episodes or whatever. I don't think that matters. I think he's talked about through all of them. So that's maybe enough. And in a split, Kieran Culkin may be wondering why he went lead without knowing where Brian Cox was going to put his hat this year. So it's very intriguing. I
think the other guys were surprised that Brian went lead.
Yeah. I mean, all the speculation was, he could be a guest actor. No, he says, I'm a lead. I was a lead. I will be a lead. you know,
I would
that's
say,
Logan Roy thinking. That's Logan Roy talking.
I would say one thing about that, which is, I wonder how much the negative publicity around Jeremy Strong and Brian Cox will affect their chances, because Jeremy Strong in particular has taken a lot of hits in public for this method acting thing. And instead of trying to quiet it down, he kept talking about like almost jumping off a railing while he was filming the last scene of the final episode. And really, this is going to be their last chance to honor everyone because it's the last season of the show. And Brian Cox, it wasn't just that he died in the show; he died in the third episode. So, and he said some things too that I think have not made him look great. So that's the only thing that I think might make the difference in edge Kieran Culkin, is that Kieran did amazing work. He hasn't said anything stupid in the press, and if somebody wants to, bring a little freshness to the category, honoring him, that's a great story.
Yeah, you're right, Jeremy. You're right. That's actually a really good point, Eric, about Jeremy in particular. Didn't he want to jump in the water or something?
Yeah, he was supposedly going to. In one take, he walked over to the rail, and I believe the guy playing his security guy actually went and
stopped him. Yes,
yeah, and brought him back.
Yeah.
I am living for Brian Cox's pettiness, which I think is, I adore it. I think it's great.
But you're a critic. You live for petty anyway, right?
Technically not. Technically, I'm not a critic. So I'm just someone who has immense enjoyment of Schadenfreude. So I've always said I do think Cox is if he gets in, he is still legitimately in this race. And I would have the biggest smile on my face if Brian Cox's name were called on the day of the ceremony.
I tell you this: the acceptance speech would be amazing.
Like, I have to believe it.
Tell everybody to F off.
He would literally say it.
Oh yeah.
I just want
to.
I also want to mention Patty Considine for House of the Dragon. This performance, again, kind of like Brian Cox. I mean, this is the last time they're going to be able to reward him, and he absolutely killed it. And after his big episode aired, I think it was episode 8 or 9, Rob? 8. George R.R. Martin actually wrote an article saying Patty deserves the Emmy. And I know it's a long time ago. It was back in October or November. And now, we have Succession to talk about. But I just wanted to remind people how good he was in that show.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. That's a good spot to move on to drama supporting actress. Marcus, thank you. We're all wondering if Jennifer Coolidge can win a second in a row for The White Lotus, but this time in a different category after winning in Limited last year. Her chief competition figures to be Rhea Seehorn, who absolutely deserves to win for the swan song year of Better Call Saul, Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, Aubrey Plaza for White Lotus, J. Smith Cameron for Succession, Christina Ricci for Yellow Jackets, Megan Fahey for White Lotus, and this newcomer Carol Burnett for Better Call Saul. I guess Julia Garner won for Ozark last year. What's that?
I said I'm predicting great things for that Carol Burnett.
Yeah, that Burnett woman, she's going to start going places at 90. You'll see.
It's a fad. It's a fad. Just move on.
I don't see.
Daniel? Where do you fall in the supporting drama actress count here?
Supporting drama actress without any drama, I think Jennifer Coolidge wins this for The White Lotus pretty handily. The irony is that, Sarah Snook moving from supporting to lead actually moved to the easier category because trying to get past Jennifer Coolidge was going to be tough. And I think it's, if anyone could have done it, it might have been Sarah Snook, but I don't think anyone else in this category can quite catch her.
What do you think, Rob?
I really agree. Like, if it was up to me, I love Jennifer Coolidge. Don't get me wrong. Like, honestly, I'm happy for her to win every award until the end of time. She can win for that movie with Jennifer Lopez. I don't care. But I'm just saying, I feel like if there's really like a deserving winner here, I think Elizabeth Debicki in The Crown. I've never seen someone perform, act as Diana like she did. And also, I really, really think Yvonne Strahovski deserves another nomination for The Handmaid's Tale. She was incredible in the last season of The Handmaid's Tale. But Jennifer Coolidge is winning this. And if this is going to be a Succession sweep, then, it'd be nice to see J. Smith Cameron up there. It's a smaller role, but geez, she's good in Succession. She's really good. This is going to be a really fascinating category. I can't wait to see who gets nominated.
If I could just say about this, and I think Rob just brought up a really good point here. I agree Jennifer Coolidge is most likely out front for this, but we've seen that the Emmys are willing now to do the whole we'll just give this show everything. We saw it with Schitt's Creek, we saw it with The Crown, and if what I think is going to happen with Succession does happen, which is I do have it winning almost every award that would be presented at the telecast that would be presented on the telecast. J. Smith Cameron, watch out, because she could just go along for that ride.
Absolutely.
I would. I think Ray, you mentioned Ray Seahorn. I think Emmy's history with her has been that it has mostly ignored her. So I don't think she's going to be a real contender in this category because it's so competitive. I agree with the J. Smith Cameron, and don't ignore the Aubrey Plaza of it all either. She did a great job, and I think a lot of people noticed that. And I'm a Ray Seahorn fan. I've been lamenting her exclusion from Emmy for a long time, but I think that's going to continue here. And it'd be hard to imagine somebody beating Jennifer Coolidge in this one.
Yeah, I think you could nominate once again, like they did before, all these actresses from The White Lotus. And not leave it just at Aubrey and Jennifer, but Megan Fahey and I loved Haley Lou Richardson. I think they're all good, and I think the Actors Branch, which is the ones voting here, recognized it with the ensemble last year as equally good too, and they might have a mindset to do it again for this show.
There was one thing I forgot to add, was that in Elizabeth Debicki, the only thing I wonder, and I wonder what you guys think about this, it seems like the acting branch doesn't like impersonations of people, doesn't like people who play other people. Even when they get nominated, they don't seem to win.
Unlike the Oscars.
At least that's my recollection, and I was wondering if you guys had any opinions about that.
They didn't feel that way for The Crown 2 years ago, so that's something that I don't know. Like, also, by the way, what Pete just said, I think Sabrina Impacciatore, who plays the hotel manager,
another one,
if she could get nominated, that'd be incredible. But yeah, I think, Eric, you're probably right. Although they didn't have a problem with The Crown winning everything last time, and what's her name? I can't remember the woman who played the Queen in the first 2 seasons. Claire Foy. That's the one. She won for a 3-second performance as a guest actor a couple of years ago. So.
Margot Martindale.
Yes, don't get Charlie excited about that because he'll throw something.
Oh, Margot.
The thing about that, though, is that you're right about that, Eric, but it's when it comes to series, because in the movie categories, you'll get people winning all the time for playing real life people. That's where it's catnip for them. But really, they haven't. The thing is that in TV shows they really haven't had much of a chance, because I don't think they've really done that much until recently.
No.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking more of like
That's why James Marsden needs to win for playing himself and change that whole trajectory.
Okay, and that brings us to drama supporting actor. Matthew Macfadyen will be gunning for his second straight win for Succession. His main competitors figure to be Giancarlo Esposito for Better Call Saul, F. Murray Abraham for The White Lotus, Alan Ruck and Nicholas Braun for Succession, Matt Smith for House of the Dragon, Alexander Skarsgård for Succession, John Lithgow for The Old Man, and Jonathan Banks for Better Call Saul. I think we're all on Team Macfadyen here. Is the favorite. Any dark horses you'd like to see make the cut, Marcus?
I just wanted to say, Kieran Culkin had this category locked up. The trophy already had his name engraved on it, and then he said, "Actually, I'm going to go and lead." So I guess Matthew should say thank you for giving me my second Emmy, because he's who I'm predicting Don't forget Matt Smith, though. Again, I'm a House of the Dragon fanatic. Matt Smith was so good on that show. And Alan Ruck is someone that's never been nominated for anything, and he's finally going to get nominated for Succession. I'm so happy.
You are so wrong, Marcus.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
No, McFadden has had this locked up. McFadden, even if Culkin had gotten in here, McFadden, he's done it before. He did it last year.
Yeah, but Culkin didn't have the material that he had this season. Like, I agree with Mike. I think you're both right. But McFadden is taking this. But there's going to be half this category will be Succession because Alexander Skarsgård is getting in. I think. Alan Ruck, I hope he really does make it through. Nicholas Braun has been a previous nominee. He'll make it in. And, of course, McFadden. That leaves 4 slots for all of these amazing shows, all these amazing actors during this peak TV time that we're living in. And it's so ridiculous that we have to, boil it down to 4 actors who are not in Succession.
And it'll be 2 shows because the other 4 slots will go to, the White Lotus.
I don't know about that, but I worry about House of the Dragon because genre show, and it was on a long time ago, and will people remember?
I worry too.
What Matt Smith did, and again, when you have so much material, then there's a narrower band of shows that everyone has seen. And I think that's why, last time we had, Ted Lasso and Succession and White Lotus, among them got something like 60 nominations. It was outrageous, So it's hard to imagine who else is going to fit. I mean, Jonathan Pryce did a great job on the Crown. I don't think anyone's going to recognize it. I don't think Alan Ruck's going to get nominated, to be honest. John Lithgow was great on The Old Man. Wow, so many great performances that probably won't be recognized.
Well, Alan Ruck's got a movie coming out through Amazon called The Burial that he's terrific in next year. So maybe he'll move to the Oscars.
We can hope.
I think this is White Lotus and Succession and no room for anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, though, is that what we saw, the thing that's going to be different, like what you talked about, Pete, is the fact that the voting is different for the nominating process. And I think the reason that we saw, last year in the especially supporting actress in limited series, that it was all White Lotus, and I can't remember what the other two. Which one?
Dopesick had
the other two from Dopesick, but that is directly because of that nominating procedure where you can vote for where you can just tick off as many as you want.
Which is why they changed it.
Yeah, and so I think that I think we're going to see it much more limited, much more restrained this year. I only have one White Lotus person getting into drama supporting actor, and that's F. Murray Abraham, and even I'm wavering on that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to drama guest actress, we have Lee Yu-mi won for Squid Game a year ago. No Squid Game this year. This year's favorites for nomination include Harriet Walter. It's another Succession fest. Harriet Walter for Succession, Melanie Linsky for The Last of Us, Cherry Jones for Succession, Hayam Abbas and Hope Davis for Succession, Anna Torv for The Last of Us, Fiona Shaw for Ender, Betsy Brandt maybe as an outside shot for Better Call Saul. Anyone I didn't mention that maybe, Rob, you'd like to make a case for?
Look, I think that's pretty spot on. I think this is where Melanie Linsky has the best chance to actually pick up some hardware. I really want to see Fiona Shaw make it in. This will be another Succession fest, as you say. But you know what? The one that I'm going for the most, surprise, surprise, is fellow Aussie Anna Torv, never nominated before. I think she really deserves it. She's only in like 2 or 3 episodes, and she really makes such an impact in The Last of Us. And we have to remember that when The Last of Us was airing, before Succession started, it was the show. Everyone was obsessed with it. Everyone was talking about it. I hope that buzz hasn't died down so much that it won't make a real impact in the nominations. But I think that what we just have in our odds is pretty much going to cover who's going to get nominated here.
Betsy
Marcus,
Brandt,
where do you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to add, Betsy Brandt never got nominated for Better Call Saul. She was one of the few cast members that
for Breaking Bad. You mean?
Breaking Bad.
For Breaking Bad, and now here she is as a surprise guest star on the finale. They did not announce her in advance, and she was so good in this finale of Better Call Saul. So I'm hoping she at least gets nominated, and then we can talk about the win after that.
It's interesting because Breaking Bad didn't do well with the Emmys until its last 2 seasons, I think, too. So it's not as if they took to it immediately. They had to warm up to it.
Well, they awarded Cranston the first.
Yeah, it started with the actors, and then they finally caught on with the rest.
The show itself. Yeah. Drama guest actor. We have Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett heading the Gold Derby handicap for The Last of Us, followed by James Cromwell for Succession, Bryan Cranston for Better Call Saul. My pick. If Bryan Cranston is eligible, I don't see how you could vote against him. Andy Serkis for Andor, Ariane Moayed for Succession, Aaron Paul for Better Call Saul, and Giancarlo Esposito for The Mandalorian. What say you here, Daniel?
I've got Nick Offerman from The Last of Us in a category where I'm pretty sure it's going to be like The Last of Us and Succession, pretty much this entire category. And Nick Offerman has got one co-star who could divide votes with. The Succession actors have there are 4 of them. So yeah, I've got Offerman winning, Cromwell for Succession in second place.
Can I make a pitch for a couple of people that probably won't get nominated but should?
Absolutely.
Andy Serkis in Andor was awesome. And I just worry again because it's genre and it was a while ago, but he really was wonderful. And Tony Dalton on Better Call Saul, the best villain on television, really. And it's just a crime that this guy hasn't been recognized. But yeah, I do think Nick Offerman is probably the favorite, and I think James Cromwell is the favorite amongst the Succession people. He really knocked it out of the park in his few scenes.
We had a comment earlier from, I think it was from Kel, and he was wondering how come Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett can't submit as one slot like Steve Martin and Martin Short do. And it's a really good question, and I would like to see the Academy answer that question.
Yeah, I think that Steve Martin Short submission is kind of dumb. I just think it should they're not are they congenital twins or whatever you call it?
No, they didn't do everything together, and neither does Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. And if the Academy started changing the rules for that kind of thing, it would be ludicrous. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine the idea is that the host of the show that Steve Martin and Martin Short hosted was Steve Martin and Martin Short. It was 2 people. Then the host gets nominated. You don't nominate the people who served as hosts. You nominate whoever was designated as host.
Yeah.
And that's different. If Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett had played like the same person, you could maybe make that argument. But if
the SNL host is a man and a woman, then what category do they go in?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Given it a Saturday Live, we will probably never have to answer that question.
Yeah.
We have to wrap up here in a minute or two, but I feel like I wanted to at least touch on the limited series categories. Just one in particular. Yes. Monster, Jeffrey Dahmer story, and Beef are locked in a neck-and-neck race on Gold Derby at 39-10 odds, followed by Blackbird, Fleischman is in Trouble, Daisy Jones in the 6, George and Tammy, Love and Death, and A Small Light, which has consistently climbed up the charts. I'm a big Small Light fan. I think it's a terrific, underappreciated show in terms of Gold Derby, at least, that could do very well, even though it's, yes, it's another Holocaust drama. Incredibly good. But yes, Beef is an amazing, amazing series. And why are you supporting it, Rob?
Well, after watching it, I thought the hype was really spot on. I think it's just so brilliant. Ali Wong, Stephen Yeun, half the supporting cast, I think will all make it in. I actually feel for once that limited series is not the behemoth that it usually is every year. Yes, there's some great contenders, but I just feel like in some years, limited series is where the really juicy stuff is. This year, that's not the case. Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, I thought was really well done. I just think there's a reticence to award it because people still feel a bit icky about the subject matter, although it shouldn't be the case. It's very, very well done. Fleischman is in Trouble. There's so much great stuff in here, but I just feel like Beef towers over everything else. And by the way, this is a year where TV movie is not really as weak as it usually is. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what will pan out in these categories, but I just feel like Beef is well and above everything else in the race.
Yeah.
I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer could also suffer, the Jeffrey Dahmer show, not him himself, could suffer from the fact that it was so long ago, and people having short memories, no matter how much promo they do on it. It came out so long ago.
I just want to say one name, Dominique Fishback. She probably won't get nominated, but man, she was so good in Swarm.
So good.
Yeah.
Eric, you and me are on the same page today.
Oh, wow.
I
I like Daisy Jones in The Six. That was my favorite in this category. I also like The Small Light and Beef, which I thought was going to be in another category, but since they made this, I like those three.
Yeah, I wanted to add Niecy Nash. If Monster only wins one thing, please let it be Niecy Nash. She's waited long enough to win.
And she is so good.
Oh my God, she is so good in this. And also, let's not forget other things like 5 Days at Memorial, Apple TV Plus miniseries. That was incredible. That deserves some love. And A Friend of the Family, also, that was on Peacock.
I really liked that a lot.
Yeah, same.
It was good. I liked A Friend of the Family as well. It's such a weird story, and it was really well acted. Jake Lacey, who was nominated last year for White Lotus, was great, and he's not getting any kind of buzz at the Emmys here.
I think part of it could be, Peacock. It's still not viewed
They
a
got
lot.
Mrs. Davis, which we haven't mentioned here, and
That's true.
I mean, I literally had a nun show up at my house with food one night here. The neighbors were going like, "What's the nun doing?" And I go like, "That's Peacock." Thank you very much.
They actually had a nun deliver you food?
Yeah, buffalo wings. Buffalo wings.
That's the strangest Meals on Wheels I've ever heard of. I love it.
I didn't even know they made house calls.
This one did. Yeah.
They better have been really good wings.
Yeah, very good.
That is fabulous.
You are at an upper echelon, my friend.
Oh, well, I'm on the Peacock list apparently. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and so if Netflix is not sending you a thing of Trump steaks, then I just don't really understand.
No, I got no beef from them, but yeah. You know who else?
I feel neglected.
Poker Face sent out some stuff too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you get that fridge thingy? Yeah, I got that as well.
The fridge, and they did, yeah.
But if the clergy is not delivering me stuff personally, I'm feeling neglected. I'm sorry.
100%. There's no calories when you eat something delivered by a nun. So
right,
calorie free.
Yeah.
But to be slightly serious for just a minute, I do 5 Days of Memorial was awesome.
Yep.
It was on Apple TV, and I don't think anybody saw it. And I worry about the same thing with the Peacock series.
It's also just tough subject matter to absorb.
Yeah, and people think, with 5 Days of Memorial, it's a Katrina story, and I think people feel like they know that's that story. And I could tell when I was doing stories on that series that it was hard to convince people that there was a story they hadn't heard before. But once you actually watch it, then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't hear about this happening when it happened.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget Weird Al, wherever you want to put him.
Yes, we didn't get to the TV movie, but I think that was the best TV movie I've seen this year. It was incredibly fun and creative and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I have Daniel Radcliffe, my number one slot for movie limited actors. So
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I would love to see his speech.
Totally.
It's just going to be a parody. He'll probably do a parody of whoever won the year before.
Yes.
I think we're going to wrap things up here, gang. Let's thank Marcus James Dixon, Daniel Montgomery, Rob Licuria, Charlie Bright, Eric Deggans, and Pete Hammond. I'm Ray Richmond, and we will see you in July to talk about the actual Emmy nominations, which happen on July 12th. In the meantime, be sure to return to Gold Derby often, as a life without awards is no life at all.